And we're live, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. There's a few with their mics not turned off, so if you could just double check, because I'm hearing some background noise there. So we will call this meeting to order. I'll ask if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interest. Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Your Worship. On item 4.4, the General Government Check Register, check number 028235, the grant to the Stainer Curling Club. I declared when those grants were being issued, but I'll also declare now that I am a member, so I will not be voting on 4.4. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Watson.
I will declare the same regarding the Stainer Curling Club and the grant.
Okay, and Councillor Belanger.
I will, as well as my wife is a member.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to consent agenda, we do have item 4.4 and 4.6 pulled, but before reading the motion, I'll ask if there's any items that anyone just wanted to make a comment on. Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to, I should have called earlier, but I'd like to pull 4.8, the Mama Market.
Okay, Councillor Belanger.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Byfolchi. I just wanted to comment on 4.7, which is the garbage parcel public art project. And I just wanted to congratulate whoever initiated that project. It's a pretty simple thing. It's relatively inexpensive, and some of the garbage bins have been quite an eyesore. So I'm looking forward to seeing what can be done to enhance our beachfront. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for raising that. I think it will definitely enhance things. Seeing nothing else, if I could have a mover and seconder for the consent agenda, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Foster. Resolved that the Committee of the Whole hereby receives the April 21st, 2022 consent agenda items 4.1 through to 4.10, and that all the recommendations contained therein be adopted, excluding agenda items pulled from the motion and voted on separately. Deputy Mayor Bray.
I apologize for my delay. I had some technology difficulties this morning. Was item 4.10 pulled from the agenda?
No, it wasn't, but you'd like that pulled?
Well, my only thoughts is the motion includes a decision, whether to do A or B, not labeled A and B, but whether to hire, I believe it's a lawyer or a planning consultant. So I didn't know if we were making that decision. So it's an and or in the motion. And I wasn't sure if council wanted to provide direction. Perhaps the clerk could advise.
Yeah, Dina, I'm just trying to find that in my agenda.
So it's 4.10, the second paragraph. And the decision that needed to be made, I thought, was and or.
I'm not seeing that in my agenda.
No, what it says is that the town solicitor and planning staff not attend the OLT hearing and or retain the services. So they're saying that they don't do either, is how I am reading that.
Right.
So it's not a.
Oh, okay. So you're putting the not in front of both. Okay.
So we don't need 4.10 pulled.
I can follow up with planning staff. I'm questioning the motion, but I can follow up offline.
Okay. Mr. Herron, can you confirm for us what that motion is, the intent?
I think the wording in the second clause where it says shall not attend the OLT hearing and / or retain the services of a planning consultant. For clarity, it should be edited to say OLT hearing and also not retain the services.
So it's clear we're doing nothing.
Yes, yeah, that's
okay.
The intent, that that the town not attend at the hearing.
Okay, so Mr. Herron, if it was to say staff not attend the OLT hearing or retain the service of a planning consultant, does that?
Yes, I think that would do it.
Okay, that's how it will be read then. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, if there's no further comments on any of them, moved by Councillor Kinney, seconded by Councillor Foster, resolved that the Committee of the Whole hereby receives the April 21st, 2022 consent agenda items 4.1 through to 4.10, and that all the recommendations contained therein be adopted, excluding agenda items pulled from the motion and voted on separately. All those in favor? And that is carried. That takes us to 4.4, general government accounts, and that is where we had Councillor Foster, Councillor Watson, and Councillor Boulanger declare. So if I could have a mover and seconder for these motions, Councillor Wells and Councillor Kinney. Resolved that the General Government Services Section departmental accounts for the month of February 2022 and March 2022 as reviewed by the Committee of the Whole are hereby confirmed. Any discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to item 4.6. That is one that I asked to be pulled. We had received a few emails with regard to the report, and I asked if Angela could come to speak to some of the concerns that were being raised dealing with the noise of the fireworks as well as environmental. So Ange, I will pass it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we issued an RFP for the fireworks shows as our 3-year tender wears up this year, and we received some submissions for those. So I've reviewed those submissions and presented the report based on those submissions. The company that I'm recommending does have all cardboard product, so none of their product is plastic shells. So all of their product does disintegrate as it explodes. With regards to other environmental concerns, there is regulations within the National Fireworks Explosive Regulatory Division that certain products are not allowed to be sold or distributed to Canada. And as environmental concerns come about, more effort is being put into percolate-free products, which is one of the main chemicals that have been causing concerns with the environmental impact of fireworks in general. So those, I know he does work with companies that do offer those perk-free fireworks. So he does try to include as much of that as possible. And all of the other regulations are followed by the National Regulatory Division for Explosives.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions of Ange? Councillor Foster?
Thank you, Your Worship. And when I read both the report and the emails we received, I got thinking about this, and certainly fireworks have been around. I think they were invented in China like 1,000 years ago, so it's nothing new. And it is a truly an interesting and exciting event to watch, and we have very limited and very regulated ones. So I'm in favor of that. When I read that email, I really continue to be more concerned with the sale of the private ones that go off every weekend in Wasaga. I mean, these ones we can regulate. We looked at, we found out they're as biodegradable as possible. I understand they could be upsetting to wildlife and animals and stuff, but again, if we're doing it for 10 minutes 4 times a year, it's can be uncomfortable for animals and people at times, but I do think at some point, again, the bigger problem is actually the unregulated use in back streets and in the park, and that's something that I really do feel that we or future councils need to address. And I think it's a bigger problem than just locally. It's a problem across the country. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Watson?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd also ask for this to be pulled. I will not be supporting the motion. I was really hoping, I had given the CAO a heads up about a week or so ago, just saying that I wouldn't be supporting it. I was hoping that there would be a report on alternatives. Many cities across Canada and North America are going to more of a silent fireworks display, basically what you would see at a concert, pyrotechnic light shows that are set to music and without the loud bangs. and so forth with it. I think there's still an element of pollution from the fireworks come out, and there's certainly detrimental effects to household pets and that sort of thing, and children. Small children can be quite scared by it. Also, I see it where we live. We hear the fireworks go off a lot because they go down to the beachfront and do it. We're closer to the main beach area, so we're hearing them all the time, all times of the night. So I will not support it. I think we can look at alternatives and have a more environmentally friendly and less noisy show. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'll just look to our clerk from the bylaw standpoint. The bylaw department is that the fireworks that are going off that aren't part of these 4 or whatever it is events throughout the year, do we deal with that through our bylaw department? If you could address that.
Certainly, Mayor Bartholci, we do deal with that in the bylaw department. We do take complaints for that, and we attend for those complaints.
Okay, thank you. Follow-up, Councillor Watson?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, and I put no fault on bylaw at all. I think our bylaw actually says you're not allowed to set fireworks off except specific days. I think it's there. But, you know, that's almost an impossible task for our bylaw to do that. I know complaints come out, but, you know, just as an example, about 2 weeks ago, house up the road, I guess they must have, they had a party bus that went somewhere for a concert, and they came home about 2 in the morning, and about 3 in the morning, everyone in the neighborhood was jostled out of bed and out on the street because it sounded like cannons going off, and they just decided to set fireworks off at 3 a.m. and they were loud, like unbelievably loud. So it's as I said, it's almost impossible for bylaw to keep up with it, but people are doing it. So I don't know what the answer to that is, but I know our bylaw says that there's only certain days you can do it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think we've probably all had those nights where we're woken up by them, and it is frustrating and annoying. And maybe that's something that through the bylaw department we can look at stricter penalties or something else. But for today's report, we're dealing with just the town's fireworks. Next is Councillor Belanger.
Thank you, Mayor Bartholci. I will also not be supporting the motion. After we received that email, I Googled and read quite a bit of information across the country on some of the detriment, you know, and again to wildlife, and you know, we're in the area of plovers as well, plovers, and you know, so there's some concern there. I think you know, a move to a silent, colorful show. And maybe less of them, but some of my thought was similar to Councillor Watson. If we're going to be moving forward and developing a festival square, and my thought was that we could use the money to look at potentially on a smaller scale, a fountain LED show similar to what they have in Vegas, or the Epcot Center laser light shows. That would give us the ability to do a very safe display that could be done every night if we chose to do it. So those are my thoughts, and thank you.
And can you speak to the noise aspect of it and any investigation you've done on that?
Thank you, Chair, Mr. Chair. We have basically the companies that we've talked about, they have looked into noiseless or less noise producing fireworks as well. So in particular, this company does use one of the brands that they use has that low noise. It does still produce noise, and the pyrotechnics, things that you see at shows and concerts, they also produce some noise. The laser light shows piece, they are very expensive. So they would definitely double or triple our fireworks budget for each event. So that's something that we've looked into. We've looked into drones and that sort of thing as well, because that will also produce less noise, but again, a lot more expensive when it comes to those types of shows. We have looked into other options, but and all of the fireworks are getting better with the noise, but they're because it's an explosive device, there is still noise associated with it.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor Bray.
Thank you. So I think to move the business of the town and the impact of the events forward, I will be supporting the RFP today, but I would also ask that events continue to investigate what other options are out there, certainly including environmentally friendly options in our festival square. When that discussion comes to the table is brilliant. Anyone who's been to Las Vegas or even Canada's Wonderland can see the potential. When you think of the old festival of Symphony of Fireworks, I think it was, down at Ontario Place years ago, they were putting them to music, and you would put your radio station on. So whether they boomed or not, if your radio was loud enough, you didn't really even hear the noise. So I think, moving forward, I think this is an industry that will rapidly change in light of the environmental impact, as we realize, that we all do need to do a little bit more than we have been doing. But short term, I do support it, because I think 4 times a year for 10 or 15 minutes, these shows are really well received by our residents. The majority of who love them, who invite their friends, who attend with their families, we always get a ton of really positive feedback from our fireworks shows. So, based on the disappointment if they get canceled, everybody is certainly very upset when the rain sets in and we aren't able to put them on. So hoping moving forward, we can look at better alternatives. This RFP doesn't say we're going to spend this money every year for 3 years. It makes the price of those fireworks consistent for 3 years. So for that reason, I'm supporting the motion today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I would agree with that. The complaints that we get for the most part are the random ones that happen in neighborhoods. It's not the 4 events that the town puts on every year. So I agree with what you're saying. Councillor Kinney?
Thank you, Worship. I will be supporting this motion going forward, because I believe, as our Deputy Mayor was saying, that it's well received in our community, and people feel negative if for some reason we can't hold them. I do agree with Councillor Belanger's comments about, and Councillor Watson's, about looking at more environmentally friendly ones. I think that's something that we could investigate and put forward. And then finally, Your Worship, to Councillor Watson's comment about cannons going off on a street. Yes, it's hard for bylaw to follow up, but there's another agency that could imply cause disturbance or mischief charges to those. So that's a thought. I'm probably thinking our new detachment commander wouldn't be happy for me to say that, but and then again, the possibility of fire starting too. And I think that's a concern that our fire chief has too. Anyway, I thank you very much, and that's it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Belanger.
Thank you. Just a couple more comments that I missed. There was some concern on my part is whenever we have a fireworks event and it is well attended, and the traffic has been an issue on leaving those events. And once we start the development of Beach 1, I think we're going to significantly add to some of those traffic issues. And the fireworks that are occurring on a regular basis, it's gotten to the point that I know of one resident that's actually moving into Tiny because of that very thing, that the fireworks were every weekend in the area of New Wasaga Beach. And I think and I don't know the legality of this, it would something have to be looked into, but we could also look to take a leadership role and put a moratorium on fireworks within our municipality. And that should be a consideration, if not now, at some point in the future. Thank you.
Councillor Watson?
Thank you, Your Worship. And I'd just like to thank Councillor Kinney, because he touched on one subject, and that's the possibility of fires, and that does happen. It's not that common, but we hear about it in a lot of municipalities where they go up and they sometimes land on a roof. But if it's a very dry season, grass fires are very apt to happen with them. And I understand your comment about calling the OPP, and that was actually done in the instance that I mentioned. They received several calls. They attended. I don't know what happened out of it, but anyway, thank you for reminding me on that, Councillor Kinney.
Okay, thank you everyone for those comments. I'm going to read the motion that Committee of the Whole recommends that Council award Firemaster Productions to provide 4 fireworks display services annually from 2022 to 2024, subject to annual budget approval of the corresponding community events outlined in this report at a total cost of $88,800 over 3 years. If I could have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Foster, all those in favor? And those opposed? So that it carries by a vote of 5-2 with Councillor Belanger and Councillor Watson in opposition. The next item that was pulled was item 4.8, and that was by Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Worship. And I'm really struggling as to how to phrase all of this because I don't want to sound like a Scrooge. But I recognize that we have facilities that that we want to put out for rent because we certainly can use that that income covers the cost of the maintenance and so forth in those facilities. And so yes, we have some great facilities and we want them to be rented out. And in this case, it is the Recplex area that to be rented out. But at the same time, as I read this report, I note that the Mama Market, as it's called, is in support of is a fundraiser, but it's supporting entities that have no connection directly to the town of Wasaga Beach. They are in Angus and Tosserantio, I think it was in the report. And so what's happening is an organization all doing good stuff for the right reasons, but going into a secondary community, another community, and encouraging and hopefully drawing funds from that particular community, which those funds then go back to an alternate community, which doesn't have any impact or any support for Wasaga Beach. In the meantime, we have numerous organizations here in town, the Food Bank, the Lions Club, the Rotary Club, the Kinsman Club, or Connect Club rather, all struggling to raise funds to support our local organizations that support that are supportive of residents in the town of Wasaga Beach, such as Campbell House in Collingwood, such as the Georgian Tranquil Humane Society, such as our local food bank, such as you can go on and name those local groups. And when I think about it, I think here we have a group doing, as I said, good work in their own communities, but for every dollar that maybe is collected here in Wasaga Beach and then taken out of the community is a dollar that doesn't go to our own local organizations and doesn't support our own residents who need support for various issues. So I'm just really having difficulty supporting this venture. I think we need to protect the fundraising that goes into our community, that the money stays in our community when it's being fundraised in our community, and that's not the case here. I mean, we just heard this morning that we're looking at inflation rate of 7% overall on food and 40% on gas. We have families who are struggling in many ways, and this is not going to help. This is going to draw funds away from our community into another community. So I say I don't want to sound like a Scrooge, but in this particular case, I will not be supporting the motion.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor Bray.
Yeah, question through to Angela. The recommended fee is $600 based off the rates and fees bylaw. Now, is that book rate or is that recommendation discounted? Because if it's book rate, I don't know that we would really have grounds to refuse them if they meet all the expectations of hosting an event in Wasaga Beach. If we're discounting the rate, then I'm leaning towards the concerns that Councillor Wells raised. So I just kind of questioning that fee.
Okay, Ange?
Thank you, Councillor Blake. Through you, Madam Chair. The fees that we've charged are similar to what we've charged for other activations in the beachfront parking lots. So there's no set fee for the parking lot use at the Recplex because it's a free parking lot. But the rate that I've suggested there is the $300 for the application, which is for for-profit business, and a parking lot fee of $150 per day for based on our bylaw that says a minimum charge of $150 for the other lots.
Okay, thank you. Next is Councillor Belanger.
Thank you, Mayor Byfolchi. I certainly understand Councillor Councillor Wells' concern. However, there are many, many charitable campaigns that are run through the mail, through social media. Ukraine is a good example. It certainly takes money out of our community, but these are very deserving charities that to give them support. I'd also say there's a lot of small communities around us that don't have food banks, and I'm certainly aware that we receive donations from people outside of Wasaga Beach in support of some of our charities. Maybe given this parking lot didn't have a set fee schedule, maybe we should consider going ahead and taking the $600 and using it to support local charities. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Belanger, say what I was thinking about, that if we're going to, it just seems highly unusual. I don't know if we have organizations here asking them to go into Collingwood or Angus or Stain or anywhere else to raise money for Wasaga Beach, so it seems unusual. But my suggestion would be similar, that if we charge the $600, maybe we could turn that around and donate it back to a couple of charities or organizations in the beach to do that, which would help out. I know it is voluntary. Anyone can set up and solicit for donations, and it's at the will of the people if they wish to or not, or put their money in the community. So not too concerned about that, but it just seems unusual for this to be happening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I don't think that we can charge a fee and through this process today determine that we're going to give it to charities, but I'd have to look to the clerk or our Treasury Department for more on that. But we'll go to Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Your Worship. And although I understand this is kind of an unusual situation, if we look at some of the people who have some challenges, economic, etc., in our town, there is a large population we know that's actually quite transient. So they will be here for a period of time. They'll be in cottage courts, and then once it becomes more profitable, they'll find somewhere else to go. So I think we have to look at the big picture and say, yes, a need is a need. And so if there is a group that has taken it to be proactive and said, we're going to reach out beyond, it would be the same as if we had a vendor want to set up, from the GTA to sell a product here. We don't really question where the funds go. Did they pay for the space? And it's not mutually exclusive. I know our Rotary Club and Canets and all those, the Lions, they all do great work and do different things. And I understand the dollars are tight and fought for, but I do think that, say, the need for someone in Angus or Essa or Pinewood, wherever, and Essa and Pinewoods, is a legitimate need, and this group has taken upon themselves, and there's certain risks to going into a community, and again, if a group in our town wanted to do the same thing, there's nothing that says this is exclusive. So there's risk to the vendors, there's a reward, if they're successful to their group. And again, so I don't think we should be putting up barriers for it. I think we should be welcoming them and saying, you know, and if a group in our town wants to, you know, a couple service clubs want to go together and do it, that's great. I will point out though, you know, there's fundraising that's done in our community, as Councillor Belanger said, for the Ukraine. I know, and many of us have been involved in the Rotary when we go down to the Dominican and put time, effort, and money into helping people there. So this is just perhaps a more local external option to be of assistance. And again, no exclusivity. If a group in town wants to do it, whether it's selling the various products here or art or, you know, anything, more power to them. We have to look after, you know, the quality of a community is how we, not how we take care of our people with the most money, but those who have need. That's where you really get the quality of a community. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. And just reading this, I'm looking at this from a small business aspect that, you know, we have a lot of small businesses that may choose to get in on this, and they can benefit their business, and they are local. So I think that that's a benefit to them in our community as well. Councillor Belanger.
Thank you, Mayor Byfolchi. And just to follow up, to my knowledge, one of the most successful fundraisers that we do in our community is through the Rotary Club on their Corvette ticket sales. And they bring an awful lot of support into many charities. And certainly I know they attend events in Collingwood and sell those tickets, and in different locations. I'm not familiar with all the locations, but I know they were on sale at an event in Collingwood. So I think I agree with Councillor Foster that if people are out there trying to do good things, we should support it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to read the motion that Committee of the Whole recommends to Council that it approve the Mama Market on Saturday, May 28th and Saturday, June 25th, 2022 from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Recplex parking lot. If I could have a mover and seconder. Councillor Kinney and Deputy Mayor Bray. Any further discussion? All those in favor? And those opposed? So that is carried by a vote of 6-1 with Councillor Wells in opposition. Moving on, next is our closed session. If I could have a mover and seconder for that motion, please. Deputy Mayor Bray and Councillor Belanger. Before I do that, Councillor Foster.
Yes, Your Worship. Again, I'm not in my my home at this point, and I have questions about the security of my internet as well as my privacy. So I'm going to have to respectfully leave the meeting at this point. And I don't believe there's a matter other than passing things that were done in camera after that. So I will not be back for the rest of the meeting, but I'll catch up with the town staff when I'm in next. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So again, moved by Deputy Mayor Bray, seconded by Councillor Belanger, resolved that pursuant to section 239(2)(a), (d), and (i) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, the next portion of the April 14th, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting will move into closed session to discuss the security of the property of the municipality or local board, labor relations or employee negotiations, and a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which, if disclosed, could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organization. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Goodbye, Councillor Foster. And Dina, if you can just let us know when we're in camera. I saw your lips moving, Dina.
We're live.
Okay, thank you very much. So we are back in open session. The CAO's verbal report regarding the beachfront. The motion is that Committee of the Whole received the report from the CAO provided in closed session pertaining to beachfront negotiations for information. If I can have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Wells. All those in favor? And that is carried. Manager of Human Resources report that Committee of the Whole refer the report back to staff for further consideration. If I can have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney, Deputy Mayor Bray, all those in favor? And that is carried. I've lost my last motion here. Here it is. Sorry about that. And that Committee of the Whole received the external board meeting minutes of December 23rd, 2021, provided in closed session for information. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney, Councillor Wells, all those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. And we are now adjourned. Enjoy the rest of your day.